Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vipoositha Gnanenthra, and I'm honored to be here today in front of all of you to share my story. I hope that it will encourage you to pursue your passion and discover the hidden lessons in your life. Before I begin, I would like to thank CanTYD for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I was a volunteer at CanTYD many years ago and always looked forward to attending the Awards of Excellence every year to meet up with old friends and to see the emerging talent of our community. As we all gather here today to celebrate the successes and milestones that our youth have achieved, I would like to personally take the opportunity to congratulate all the award winners, as well as the community partners and volunteers who have played a pivotal role in supporting CanTYD. I'm not a famous person, and in fact, you can usually find me behind the camera, not in front. This is my story. I immigrated here to Canada with my family from Sri Lanka in 1992. We lived in a small apartment in a massive building in Flemington Park. Everyone at the school would call it the refugee building because all the new immigrants found their way to 35 St. Denis Drive. It was a segue for a lot of people starting a new life in a new country. My father's single income supported 6 people. We really didn't have a choice with where we lived or whom we lived with. We didn't have a lot, but we made the most of it. We climbed apple trees and played baseball with tree branches. Played tag and Nicky Nicky Nine Door was our guilty pleasure. Later in middle school, I was bullied as a result of being a new kid in a predominantly Caucasian school. Because my mom cooked every day, I wore, as what the French would call, eau de curry to school every day. Also, having a name that sounded like feces didn't help either. To escape the teasing and the name calling, I would spend hours in the art room painting and drawing until my teachers would come looking for me. For me, my secret love affair with art began in those rooms. However, my passion for art was just that, a secret. Hang on a sec. Years later, with the help of OSAP and my mom's cooking, I graduated from the University of Toronto with a degree in neuroscience and psychology. I loved art, but I didn't realize a career in art was even possible. Plus, I was going to be a first-class neurosurgeon, or at least that's what my entire family thought. Now let me give you a story. My mom has 10 siblings, and my dad has 3. And those siblings, and they have their kids, and those kids have kids, and of all of them, I was the first person to go to university. So I got calls from across the globe congratulating me on becoming a doctor. And then they would list out all their ailments and be like, what is the diagnosis for it? But wait a minute, wait, I'm not a doctor. I just got into university. There was a lot of pressure. My parents wanted me to go to medical school, become a doctor, and make them proud. But that's not exactly what happened. This part of my life is called confronting the truth, and where my journey really began. Here are the things that didn't go as well as I had planned. I didn't get into medical school because I bombed my MCATs twice. I didn't get into graduate school because I wasn't excited about the program, so my application was pretty crappy. I worked at a logistics startup, but it went bankrupt. Luck of the draw, I guess. The charity I worked for fired me because I wasn't passionate about the role I was hired for. From these experiences, I learned that I didn't have a true passion in medicine, and I didn't want to do research. It was challenging for me to find something I was passionate about, I was good at, and could make a living out of it. Even though I had moved on from my dreams in medical school, my parents had no idea. For many years of my life, I thought if I just listened to them, then I'd be really happy. But now, not that they didn't have my best interest at heart, they only know what they know. But my parents couldn't understand how lost I felt. Now came the hard part. I had to tell them that I was not going to be Dr. Gnanenthra. Before I tell you my story, let me give you a background about my father. Now, my father is a very loving and a very, very generous person, but he's also very, very strict. We had certain rules that needed to be followed at home. Now, one of those was our designated study time. We had to be at the dining table, also known as our study table, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So every day, my siblings and I would hurry home from school, put away our bags, run downstairs to play until 5:57 p.m. Then we'd dash back upstairs, be at the study table for 6 p.m. as though we were clocking in for a 9-to-5 job. We never dared to question Daddy. So when the moment came, when I finally had to tell them that I was not going to pursue medicine, you can guess what happened. They were shocked, mad, confused, irritated, annoyed, and very disappointed. And I felt extremely guilty. With this guilt, I volunteered to work on my parents' convenience store every day for a whole year, and I put my life on hold. After a while, the same "welcome to Hasty Market" and "no ma'am, we don't give out free cigarettes" became a painful routine. There were days when I just didn't want to wake up because I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. All my friends were starting their lives, and I was working at my parents' convenience store. Now, around this time, my dad bought a really expensive digital SLR instead of a simple point and shoot for a family camera. The only problem was that no one knew how to use it, so it just sat around and collected dust. So I dusted it off and started playing around with it. Daddy didn't know it at the time, but he had reawoken my passion for the arts. The camera, like my paintings and drawings from middle school, took me away to a world of fantasy. Because of my secret passion for art and photography for a very young age, art and fashion from a young age, photography felt very comfortable to me. I spent my days photographing everything from my dog sleeping to my mom cooking. I began to see the world through a viewfinder. The early stages of my career, though, were filled with self-doubt and a lot of insecurities. I would photograph images like this and be on the verge of quitting because it didn't look like this. I thought that a career as a photographer would be as easy as photographing a flower in automatic setting, so I was pretty shocked when I learned how much hard work was actually required. I finally found something I was passionate about and I thought I was good at. Now I just need to figure out a way to make a living. Wanting to pursue fashion photography, I approached a modeling agency in the hopes of shooting their models. Clicker isn't working so well. Their response was, "No, sorry, you're not cut out to be a fashion photographer." I walked home crying on the phone to my friend, wondering if this was even possible. To which he replied, "Screw that, they know what they're talking about." And his advice was, keep at it and start small. I felt more determined than ever to make this work. So I took his advice, and after a year of hard work, dedication, and continuous improvement, I shot this image with a model from the same agency that said no to me. This was important to me because it was the first step in becoming a fashion photographer. Now that I proved this to myself, I needed to prove to my parents. Now, parents are amazing people. They sacrifice so much for us, and in my case, they let me live rent-free until I was married. Our parents want the best for us, but sometimes they don't realize what we're truly capable of until we can clearly communicate to them. I remember once, my dad sat me down and said to me, "Vipoo," because that's what he calls me, "I know that photography is your hobby, but it should just be that, a hobby. Please get a real job." Of course, I said, "Yes, Daddy," disheartenedly, and walked away. In hindsight, I realized that I should have just taken the opportunity to talk to my father about how I really felt. I didn't have the courage to tell them, so I knew I had to show them. I would leave my published work around the house, hoping secretly that they would see it and like it and then be proud. I progressed through my career as a photographer, and about 2 years ago, I was having lunch at my parents' home when my dad called me into the living room. Even though I was married at the time, When my dad calls me with that voice, I turn into the 9-year-old self and wonder what I did this time. I walked into the living room a little confused. He handed me a flyer and said, "Thought you might need this." I looked down and I smiled. Henry's is having a sale on camera equipment. I have kept that flyer to this date. This was the acceptance I was yearning for. It goes to show you that if you are passionate about something, and if you're willing to put in the hard work, those that truly matter will come around. Give it time. Today, my parents are my biggest supporters. My dad just wanted me, a South Asian female, to be independent financially and to be able to stand on my own merits. As I reflect back on my journey, I now know that those moments of failures were in fact lessons I needed to learn. Not getting into medical school made me realize what I was not passionate about, and it forced me to explore more. Not getting into graduate school, I realized I was passionate about people, not stuck in a lab all day long. Working at a logistics startup taught me how to start a business. Working at a charity taught me the importance of storytelling because I was supposed to be a motivational speaker when they hired me and then fired me. My undergraduate courses in psychology taught me how to understand people, and as a photographer, I couldn't think of a more important trait. You too will have failures along your journey, but it's important to take your time and discover these hidden lessons. One of my favorite books growing up was The Alchemist. And in there, there's a quote that has stuck with me all these years. Everything you do today is in preparation for tomorrow. To me, this speaks eloquently to the journey, the lessons, and the future. And with that, I would like to leave you with 3 questions for your story. What is the journey that you are on? What is it that you want to do in the future? And how will these lessons help shape your story? Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Vipoo, for sharing your journey. I'm sure a lot of people were inspired. I know there are people crying in the back. So thank you so much, Vipoo.